Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now, today's episode, we're talking about credit card reward points, which might not be that big of a surprise, but we're talking about specifically how to protect your points from the banks and all the rules that they don't tell you about that actually govern your points. So, of course, that sounds interesting to you, then go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, of course, when it comes to it, on a channel like this or any other channel of credit cards, credit and finance, the lifeblood of this game is rewards points. We don't do this because we like collecting pieces of plastic and metal, right? We do it for the rewards points. The goal is that you earn points on money that you have to spend anyways, and then you can redeem those points, whether it be for cash back or travel, however you like to do it. That's the goal. And, you know, a lot of us like to build up large points balances. It's kind of fun, right? You end up like Smaug from Lord of the Rings, sitting on a giant pile of treasure. But that actually becomes very dangerous because of two rules that don't really get talked about a ton. And that is the fact that, one, credit card points are actually worthless until redeemed. And number two, you don't actually own your credit card points. Now, if you go through, you know, the terms and conditions of the rewards program, it will say that, but it's not really something that the bank advertises per se. It's one of those things, like maybe once a year, every few years, you'll see a story in the news where, like, you know, unfortunately someone will pass away and they have a massive points balance, and like the family will be trying to go and claim all their stuff, right, as you're supposed to do, and they'll go to the bank, like, hey, how do I get these points? And they're like, well, you can't. Why not? Because that person didn't own them and they're actually worthless, so we don't owe you anything. And that'd be sad because it'll be quite a bit of money when these stories come up. But I will look at really quick here why I think banks do this. Part of it is fair and part of it is totally unfair. So, you know, first of all, if the points actually had a balance, if they were worth something, then all the banks would show these large, you know, outstanding items that they owe people on their balance sheets. That probably wouldn't work too well for them. So I understand why they don't want to assign them value, because then it will look like I owe you a bunch of money when really I technically don't. The other thing is, you know, they can do what they want with the point system. So it's easier to, you know, devalue points or, you know, change reward structures if you don't own them because they're not yours, so we're changing our stuff and they have no value. Now, where I think this is wrong is, let's say you were referring someone, right? You refer people, you get a referral bonus. Those referral points are taxable, right? Is where you just swipe your credit card to earn points. That's known as a rebate because you had to spend money to get the points, so not taxable. So the point is, in this case of referring, you will still be sent a 1099 at the end of the year and have to report taxes on it, which is okay, except they're telling me that those points are worthless until redeemed. If I haven't redeemed them yet, then why am I paying taxes on them now? That's kind of where it gets into, like, well, this is definitely wrong, and you're definitely just kind of stacking the game the way you want. But that's just kind of my personal thoughts on it and why they do it. Now, the important thing here is to understand how points break down and what governs what. So, you know, if you're talking about a Hyatt card, a Marriott card, an American Airlines card, those points balances, as you probably know, when you earn points, they go directly into that chain's, that partner chain's account, right? So your Hyatt points go to your Hyatt account, American goes to your American account, United to your United account, things like that. Those points are going to be governed by the rules of that partner, because you're not technically earning MR or UR thank you points, you're earning those points. So that's a little bit different. This is mostly concerning the points like Citi thank you points, Chase Ultimate Reward points, Amex membership reward points, right? Those are kind of the main points currencies that we deal in, because those points end up, you know, staying with the issuer. And again, that's where the rules, if you don't own them, apply to, and they're actually worthless until redeemed apply to, right? And it's one of those things we don't really talk about too much, so a lot of times people are surprised to hear about it, that, you know, stacking up these large points balances can be a little bit dangerous. Now, to the average person, is it really that concerning? Well, no, not really, because the average person, you know, generally just keeps using their card. You know, maybe they forget about their points or what have you. But if you're watching this and, you know, you watch a lot of channels like this and you tend to take advantage of, you know, points game very aggressively, then it can be a little dangerous because you're always at risk of, you know, upsetting the issuer for whatever reason. You know, we saw, Reddit's always good for this, but, you know, a while back there's a Reddit thread where a gentleman, I assume it was a gentleman, you know, redeemed a ton of, like, over, like, 1 million Air Canada miles through Chase Pay Yourself Back, which you're not supposed to do to that extent, and then he was shut down, right? So if you get shut down, your points are all over there. well, the bank can just kick you out and they don't have to give you anything because you don't owe them, right? It's definitely a problem that we would run into more than normal people, right? So, what's the real answer here? Well, the answer, I think, is to, understand how you play the game, right? How aggressive are you going to be? Are you a potential risk to get shut down? Things like that. Because Amex is known for shutting people down and just kicking you out immediately. You don't get anything. Chase has been known to give you 30 days to clear out, cash out your points, whatever you want to do, but it's definitely not guaranteed. They don't have to. So, once you know where you stand, but, either way, I think you're looking at probably de-risking a little bit. So if you're cash back, this is actually pretty easy to do. Some people like to redeem their cash back every single month to lower their credit card bill. And there's nothing wrong with that by any means because you're using your points. I like to do it personally every single year, like one at the end of the year, just one big cash out. I think it's fun, and generally I have to make a video about how many points I earned the previous year. I don't have to, but it's good TV, so we do it, and then it's an easier way to just tally it up for the video. But I wouldn't go any longer than 1 year because, again, it's cash back, and you could also argue the time value of money, where $1's worth more today than it is tomorrow, so why not just use them? So cash back, pretty easy. Now travel, a little bit, if you want to use your points for travel, a little bit more difficult potentially, right? So again, we're talking about the MR, the UR, and the thank you points, right? Because some of those you could cash out, like Ultimate Rewards or thank you points, you could cash out. But if you want to use them for travel and you fit the bill here, well then, you might want to look at, if you're doing transfer partners, once you've transferred your points over from Chase to Hyatt, those points are now Hyatt points and you can't get them back, which might not be a bad thing because most people have their favorite chain and they know that they're going to either use those points at Hyatt or United or Delta or what have you. So it might not be the worst thing in the world to have them stuck over there. But again, that does bring up other risks about, sending them to a points play, a partner, and then those points get devalued. Once they're over there, and those points get devalued by Hyatt raising prices on their properties in cash, well, then you're kind of stuck. May or may not be a big deal to you. If you like to use the travel portal, then of course you can't really move them out until you're ready to move them out. And also, you do miss out on potential transfer boosts. We see this at Amex sometimes where they offer, instead of a 1-to-1, you'll get a 1 Amex point equals 2 Hilton points or something like that. So it's one of those things you just got to keep your eye on if your team travel. I would say, again, if you're a Hilton fan, well, look for those points boosts when they come out, right? Because those are generally decent deals. It doesn't cost you anything, get you extra points. And then maybe you want to consider just de-risking, right? So maybe you don't move all of your points, but say you're like, man, I have like 100,000 points over here. Maybe I want to move 20-30% of them just to de-risk, because that's really what you see people do, like traders, right? Every so often you'll see CNBC, oh my gosh, investors took profits or something, or the market goes down. Well, it's really these people have held these positions for so long that they've built up enough profit in them that they say, let me de-risk, take some of my profit, maybe it's been over a year so I avoid capital gains, and take some of my money out just to de-risk. Like, that's all you're really trying to do with this. And lastly, I did want to cut back in here really quick with a few other rules that kind of tie back to our overarching rules. So some points do have expiration dates you want to be careful of, 3 to 5 years usually. We don't see it in the big programs, but the Elan credit cards, for example, they have those in there. Again, if you're going to close out a credit card, you want to make sure you've transferred your points out or cashed them out, because if the account closes, you do forfeit your points. Of course, unfortunately, one of the things that annoys me the most are redemption rules and limits. So we're seeing some of these start to go away, but a lot of programs do say, hey, you have to redeem in increments of 2,500 points or $25, or you have to have a minimum to redeem. I hate those rules personally, but they are out there as well. Your points balance can be taken negative. I cashed out some points on a Chase card, then I made a return, and of course they did take it negative. So in that case, I just transferred over some points back to make it 0 again. Do I think they're actually going to come after you? I mean, if you owed them a ton of points, like you tried to get a massive sign-up bonus and then cut and run, it's entirely possible they try to take action. But mine was only like a few hundred points. Might as well just make it even, as well, not to upset the issuers. Technically, you do owe the points. but they can do that through clawbacks and such. And then lastly, an interesting one, because we had the story or the kind of sort of joke up front, but there usually is a headline where someone is trying to get points, from a family member's account who's since passed away, unfortunately. Some banks will allow you to do it if you're the executor of the estate, or, you're clearly, were married to them or something, they're your parents. You can present like a death certificate as documentation. Some banks will actually issue that as a final payment to the account, and then you could go and get it, assuming you have access. Some will not. It's not guaranteed. Some programs, like I think the travel programs usually don't, but some of the banks will, provided you don't owe them any money, or the person doesn't owe them any money, because they're already going to take care of themselves first, even though the points don't have value, so how can they settle their debt? But I guess cashing them out, then having it settle the debt, they would do that. Of course, it's always as easy as if you have access to that person's account, I would just quietly cash them out, again, provided you're supposed to be in there and all the rules and everything like that. So overall, those are the rules that kind of tie back to our overarching theme of the credit card rules and who actually owns and governs your points. I thought this was a short topic, but it is an important one to talk about. So moral of the story, use your points, de-risk, and understand the rules around them. So anyways, guys, if you like this one, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you find it particularly interesting, consider subscribing to the channel. Again, we're posting content just like this every single week, right back here on Sundays with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. And of course, every single week over on every single day over on ProfitableContent.com. We have the latest news stories, bank bonuses, and credit card offers. Question for you guys is, let me know what your thoughts are, how you de-risk or manage using your points, or do you just sit on top of them and amass all your treasure like Smock? Either way, I'd love to get your thoughts on that. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you very soon in the next one.